So this might begin a series of videos where I kind of highlight that people love to complain about a dragon when their adversary is closer to a vampire or a werewolf, right? Meaning that the foe that you set upon that is overwhelmingly powerful or outside of your realm of control to face reasonably is the thing that you rage against the machine of. But in all actuality, maybe you can solve this with a wooden stake. Like, if you think about it, right? I'll frame the analogy before we get into it so you guys understand what I'm saying. So a dragon, obviously, typically in more Western interpretations of one, is a gigantic scaled beast that breathes fire, right? As such, its scales are hard to penetrate. Finding a weakness in it is hard. Facing off against something that is, 100 times bigger than you, you can't even find a purchase on where to strike it. If you were to battle a dragon with the sword, unless the sword somehow also had a projectile to it, you kind of cooked, you know what I'm saying, in more ways than one. Versus a vampire. There are many ways of which you could disarm it. Garlic is one way. You disrupt its senses if you throw garlic in its face across. Blessed by the Holy Church, vampires are evil demonic creatures. They cannot withstand the power of God. A wooden stake drive right underneath their rib cage to kill them. What I'm saying is, people spend a lot of time being upset at some overarching problem, when sometimes the real issue, or an issue that can be addressed, is a little bit closer to heart. And that is what this video and another video I actually intend on making about marriage and divorce, people gonna hate me for that one, is about. It's about people oftentimes set up this gigantic issue or this gigantic force in society, giant abstract thing that it couldn't possibly be solved with one person really, or like one change or one thing. And even if it did go away, it wouldn't really even actually solve anything of the issue that you're actually bemoaning about in the first place. And after I said all that, now I'll finally get to it. I apologize. So someone re-uploaded a part of a conversation they were having with Brett Cooper. This is actually a year old, but they re-uploaded it from the time I'm recording this a day ago. So I don't know why, whatever. And as such, I was listening to the beginning of it, and I don't really think I need to go too deep into detail with it. The whole thing's like 50 minutes long. I'm not doing a full response to it. But just the intro of it kind of already tells me where Brett Cooper's mind is. And there's some issues here, some problems. We're going to go over those problems, right? And then, I'll talk about some solutions as well. So as such, she shall take us away.
I want to hear more about your anti-porn stuff.
Oh, God.
All right, here we go. I also think that porn is one of the things that is destroying my generation.
Why?
So there we go. We're talking about porn. Here's the thing. Lots of conservatives and lots of female conservatives, it's important to distinguish, do rage against the machine of pornography. Now, to be fair, is porn in and of itself a problem? Absolutely, certainly. It definitely points to an issue between men and women when its existence is peculiar. And most people don't ever go the full mile, the full completion of how pornography's literal existence is strange and peculiar. Most people accept a laissez-faire type of morality. Whatever, it's just porn. You can consume it in a healthy way. That Destiny take, which evidently he couldn't. All right. Well, fine. Maybe he could participate in pornography healthily. But it didn't seem like he could participate in regular relationships. Anyway, as such, I think porn is more smoke than it is fire. Not to say that it's good or should be defended, but there is an issue in the fact that as men and as women, as two halves of humanity that want to engage with each other sexually, there's a medium where we have a huge subsect of society watching the activity rather than participating in the activity, when the other half of humanity also wishes to participate in the activity. It does beg an interesting question. Why do we have a medium where we watch pornography when we can have men and women just have sex with each other? They can just have relationships with each other. And that's the question that we should be asking. It's not simply that porn is ruining our generation, but why do we even have porn to begin with if, as humans, we want to engage with each other sexually? If anything, we kind of have to do that if we want to keep our society even to exist at all to begin with. That's an interesting question I'm going to frame the video with. We're going to let Brett Cooper continue to dissertate herself.
Why is it so bad?
Okay, so first of all, with the porn industry, we know that it is fueled by criminal activity. I mean, the sex trafficking industry is funneled through porn. Pornhub is dealing with, at this rate, 10 plus 15 lawsuits. Children being molested, put on the site. It is a breeding ground for terrible behavior. For women, I think we are fed this lie, that you can, as women, I think that we are fed this lie that you can have this super happy and productive and fulfilling life by just selling your body. It will not be that way. You look at the mental health of sex workers. You look at the mental health of, porn stars. It's not good. There's the 1%, on OnlyFans, who makes, they make millions of dollars and they're great. And that, will sustain them whenever they stop doing this kind of work. But for the majority of them, it is a terrible, terrible, terrible industry.
I'm going to play devil's advocate
Yes.
here. And very much devil's advocate. Okay.
Yeah.
Graham's laughing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think a lot of people, they fall into the porn industry because it's just by happenstance, I may as well do this. I can make a good buck here.
100%.
So I could see why that would probably not work very well mentally for people.
Yeah.
It's like falling into something where, like you said, selling your body. But
His take for devil's advocate, it isn't a laissez-faire action at all for most ladies. In fact, it is a position of weakness in many different ways. And I think that in a more complex, interesting way, we could probably dissertate that. But that's not really what I want to do in this video. But I don't like the lackadaisical, I'll just make, that's not typically how any lady comes to the conclusion that they're going to do pornography. Typically, overwhelmingly, that's not how they get there.
But I think on a whole, and looking at the entire gender, women are not, and maybe this goes back to hookup culture and that kind of thing. But when you look at men and women, men are biologically designed to go sow the seeds. There's a reason why you do not carry a child for 9 months.
And so we began my issues here and why I decided to do my own dissertation. I don't like nor agree with this take that men are designed to sow their seeds. I think it's a great excuse if you want to defend why you want to be promiscuous and why you want to be a jackass, because that's just what you're being, is an irresponsible jackass. I don't even think it's true. And even if it is true, you know what else is true? Watch this. Even if it is true, watch this, that men are designed to sow their seed and spread it and try to impregnate multiple women, watch this. Your children have a better life if you are there with them. That is also true. My life is better because I had my dad. My life is better because I had my uncle. My life is better because of some of the great male friends and male leadership I've had in church, or just friends I knew in high school, college as well. Men are far more fucking complex than just individuals who just want to put their dicks in something. And this bullshit, and Brett, she's young, she doesn't know, and she's just regurgitating the shit she's heard. But this does not allow for the nuance and the complexities and the realities of what men actually are in the sexual relationship and in the relationship to your children. This all began, it's a great excuse and a great pretending that men want to shotgun blast children into the world. Even if it's true, let's say I accept it, I don't believe it, but even if it's true, men staying and raising and protecting their children makes their lives better. And as human beings, we are not beholden to our instincts anyway. It doesn't even flippin' matter if it is true that we're supposed to just go out and blast and just shotgun blast into a bunch of people. But when we don't, and we invest, and we love our babies, and we protect them, they become better people. Life is better for them. So the idea that men are supposed to do this, and that's a nice excuse. But the problem is, a lot of other conclusions come downstream from there. And in fact, you're going to see exactly what the problem here is, and setting up a world or setting up a worldview where men exist in opposition to women, because that's exactly what's about to happen. In fact, here you go.
There's a reason why you do not carry a child for 9 months. For women, it's like, I need to find this one specific partner. I can only be pregnant for 9 months. Like, I can only carry, basically, you know, I can only have one pregnancy at once. I have to protect these eggs. I only have, you know, a set amount of eggs that I'm, you know, created. And so we are very, very protective over that. With men,
Well, that's a great explanation as to why ladies are very picky. As such, it begs an interesting question. How does any woman ever end up in any bad relationship? If women are so picky and they care so much about the seed of whom they will carry, well, here's an interesting question. How come Brittany Renner, and this is the one of the most important things I think Brittany Renner has ever said. So many people get on Brittany Renner. I used to criticize her quite a bit, and I used to use her as a great example. I need to bring a little bit of that back. So Brittany Renner said this, and this has been the top tweet in my timeline on Twitter for years. She says this right here.
I never was with a guy that I looked at and was just like, wow, I cannot wait to have a son like you. You know, in my mind, I'm thinking, like, fucking demon ass baby. Like, there's no way I could ever be tied to you for the rest of my life. Let me go swallow this plan B really quick.
Let me ask you a question. Riddle me this. If it is the case that women indeed think so critically about the fact that they will be impregnated for 9 bloody months, why don't they think harder about the men they let inside them? They're really picky, but they're not picky for fatherly traits. In fact, how could any woman, if she thought so hard and so critically about the men she's allowing inside her, ever find herself as a single mother, ever find herself divorced, ever find herself in any abusive situation? Now, the explanation is that the males that the woman was with was just such a massive subterfuge. He was just such a great manipulator. He lied. He was pretending. There's no way she could have ever known. It's just not possible. I just don't, like, it's just, he was so great at first. I don't know. He just changed. He just had kids and he just changed. There's no indication ever. There's no way I could have ever known. There are no questions I could have asked. There's no location I could have found him in. There's no virtue that he would have shown with his actions it was all just a lie and all just that. It is bullshit. It's not true. Is it the case that some dudes are fantastic, absolutely bloody fantastic manipulators? Absolutely. But the thing about manipulation is that it's always contingent upon something you want. People can't give you something you don't want. No matter how much doesn't matter what they say, doesn't matter what they do, unless you are just so weak-willed and just want to escape the situation, nobody can give you something you don't fucking want. If you don't want me, it don't matter how much I fucking ask you and talk to you about the shit. If you're a lady and I'm in the friend zone, I can't manipulate you out of that. You don't want me, nigga. You know what I'm saying? There's just no way out of that, right? So I'm a bit curious then. If someone in the friend zone can't manipulate you out of it, how can someone that was never in the friend zone that you just found attractive somehow manipulated you into an awful, terrible relationship? It's because you wanted them. That's the first key step into manipulation. You have to accept the fact that this is not a true framework of how women are operating. It's not. It's a nice evolutionary psychology excuse, certainly. It's a nice explanation, but it's not a true explanation. It's not reasonable. It's not consistent in the actions and the activities ladies find themselves in. Pornography is a great example of how that can't possibly be fucking true. It can't possibly be true that that's how they operate if there's a bunch of women not operating like that. So something's not in lockstep. Something's off about that. Somehow women feel this way. Women are like, that I have to covet and protect my body. Now I'm gonna sell. What? I'm sorry, what? I have to covet and protect me womb from an awful male of whom I'd be attached to, and so I shall sell my womb to strange men, whether it be on camera or whether it be in real life. That don't make no sense. Something ain't adding up. Anyway, we'll continue.
Go repopulate the earth, literally. And so with women, there's a reason why, like, biologically, hookup culture and just sleeping with a bunch of people and leaning into that, and I guess, you know, porn is a little bit different, but still, this, like, sex-positive culture for women, I don't think it's healthy because it's going against how I believe we are literally biologically designed.
Address the actual conclusion that Brett is making. What Brett is essentially saying is, from the female point of view, or the female side, pornography, or a better extension, prostitution, operates in the complete opposite of how women are supposed to exist and be. But of course, there's something really messed up about that. That doesn't make any sense. Like, as a first premise to get to our conclusion, because I agree with the conclusion, not the premise. What does that mean? It means that if women exist in opposition to men, how can men ever actually do what they're quote unquote designed to do? Most people don't think very critically about that. In fact, there are people who set up the competition, like Myron Gaines from Fresh and Fit, will comment that this is the game being played. This is the battle. As a man, you're trying to figure out how to have sex with a woman. As a woman, you're trying to figure out how to get resources from the man. The game of the man is, how do I expend the least amount of resources for sex? The game for the woman is how to get the most amount of resources without having sex. As if it's some competition or battle. Except, we're not fucking adversaries. We're two halves of the same fucking species of animal. To reproduce as a female, you need a male. You need us. It is impossible of which for you to do so. Well, except the one time that happened. But apart from the one time that happened, you need us. That's just how it is. It's how it be. I didn't make it that way. You know what I'm saying? Take the one of God. Point is, men and women, on a fundamental level, if you accept these premises, are competitors against each other and competitors with one another intrasexually. What does that mean? That means women compete with women to get the man that they're also sexually competing against. So women have to compete with other women to be attractive to men who simply wish to blast inside of them and leave. But the woman doesn't want him to leave, so she has to combat him leaving as well. Well, shit. Well, that doesn't sound like it makes any sense, right? Because when you stop and you think about it, most people prefer monogamous relationships where they treat each other well, care about each other, and invest in their children. Well, that also pans out to be the best possible situation to put kids in. How does any of that shit make any fucking sense? It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. And the reason why I'm criticizing this is because the conclusions in the way we treat each other and the expectations we have of each other are predicated on a premise that isn't accurate or correct. The truth of the matter is, overwhelmingly, men, and this is where we're really going to get into it, men actually are not as promiscuous and desirous to blast themselves into women as most people actually think. We'll get into it right now, actually. We're about to get into it.
And I think for young men, it is allowing them to be complacent with just living online and not having real relationships. Like, the violence in marriages has I'll finish that thought and then go into it. But I mean, like, violence in relationships, domestic abuse has skyrocketed with the normalization of porn. Often in domestic abuse situations, the man is addicted to porn or has a history with it. 52% of divorces in this country cite porn as an issue, which is just an insane stat. But it makes sense, because if you're unhappy and you're trying to find fulfillment or pleasure somewhere else, you're going to go that way.
It is actually quite fascinating to me, actually, is how we kind of gloss over that. If you're unhappy, you're just going to go find this in something else. Well, why are the males who are with women watching other males have sex with women on a screen of which so they could stroke themselves to it instead of just having sex with said woman? Why would they escape to pornography when they could just go into the other room? Perhaps there might be something going on with the relationship, and pornography is the smoke, not the fire, as to how he's gotten here. Maybe.
But I was reading this Reddit post from this person. They were arguing the benefits and the drawbacks between OnlyFans and Pornhub, and they were arguing that OnlyFans was better. And one of the arguments for OnlyFans being better was because they were subscribing to an individual girl and they could create this parasocial relationship with her. And it's
now, this is an issue. I remember I was just doing a debate recently, actually, and people kept saying this, and this was my mistake for not calling it out. I need to call it out now. When it comes to the conversation of OnlyFans, it actually is not a parasocial relationship by definition. Because if you actually speak to said content creator, it is no longer parasocial because she knows who you are. What you have is an actual relationship, or the mockery of a relationship that cannot be fruitful, but one that mimics the idealization of a female being kind to a male as such that they enjoy each other's time. It's fake, it's bullshit, sure. Not quite the way I would put a pseudo relationship. I think that has a much, better definition, talk about some other time. But as a mockery, certainly, I do think that would be the case, essentially. The idea that you spend money on a woman to talk to her and pseudo court her, I guess, even though she's doing the same thing with other men. I don't know. It's weird. We'll talk about that. Yeah, Bandit.
It feels better because I'm not really objectifying her, and we have a relationship, we can chat, and I can feel better. It's like, then go out into the real world and ask a girl on a date.
Oh, mercy upon me. Oh, you sweet, beautiful soul, Brett. You're so sweet and naive, and it's phenomenal that you found yourself getting married pretty young. Just found some guy that you've known for years, and you just were able to just that's wonderful. If only we as males, all of us, and just imagine if we all had just came to the same conclusion that you did. I mean, bless all of our fucking hearts on that one. Like, the thing is, and this is what concerns me, Brett doesn't know. It's weird that she doesn't know, because she has a husband. She just go talk to this nigga. But Brett doesn't know that the truth of the matter is, trying to court women is difficult, and it's annoying, and sometimes it can even be a wee bit dangerous socially. Maybe not dangerous physically, although in rare cases it can be, but socially, definitely more often than not. As such, depending on where you go to try to court the woman, you can get a reputation of being that creepy guy, that lecherous guy. As such, you also have the reality of what just courting a woman is, and it is difficult. Is it difficult because it should be? Kind of, yes, because the end result is supposed to be a lifetime with your greatest defender. You're supposed to, at least that's what was on the tin, what was sold to us as young people, is that you're supposed to find an individual to marry. What is marriage but a lifetime commitment to an individual that loves you? That's what was taught to us. As such, there should be a heaviness and a weight to what we're doing. The problem with dating women is that the difficulty can be very, very flippin' frivolous. And there's a lot of landmines you can step on when just talking to her. So much so that there are so many courses, so many dating coaches, so much bullshit. I mean, most motherfuckers don't ever take a moment to just step back and really think about this. I remember I made a video about this called "Why is Talking to Women So Hard?" This is way back when. It's a very goofy video, but it has a interesting or great point, I feel. And that is, there's so much correcting to simply talking to women. What the fuck is it about these motherfuckers, then, that makes it so hard to talk to them? And I can tell you numerous things. The way they perceive the world, the traumas that they had from talking to other men, the preconceived notions that they have on the front end. For example, one of which, you guys thought I just did this for no reason, but I did this for a very good reason. If women believe that overwhelmingly the only reason we talk to them, or the primary reason we talk to them, is simply to have sex with them, how are they going to respond to us? When the belief that we males exist simply to blast our seeds into them randomly and such, just so we can have kids, how the fuck do you think they're going to treat us? How the fuck do you think they're going to perceive us most of the time? In an antagonistic way. We have to court that as males. We have to court as males the fact that because we're bigger and stronger, there's an implicit danger that women have to deal with. Even though we don't want to hurt them, even though we like them, even though we just straight up love them, even though their presence is soothing to us, we like their voices, we like them just being there. Obviously we like just actually having sex with them. Now we have to parse and course so many different things. And there is no grace or no coming to the table coming from young ladies. So in the option of a lifetime of someone who wasn't successful with women, a lifetime of rejection, a lifetime of having pseudo relationships where you get close to a woman, you talk to her, you might even have sex with her a few times and then she just leaves. When you have a life and a frustrating, and then let's just count in, you are in a relationship with said woman, and then she begins to mistreat you and disrespect you. Is it no wonder or surprise how a male could come to a prostitute or come to an OnlyFans lady and just pay her directly to just be nice to him, after the whole entire time before he got there, it was just waffling through so many levels and elements of bullshit, preconceived notions, and just straight up disdain and disregard, or just things completely outside of your control. You know how many times like just talking to a woman, sometimes you don't even know the rules of engagement. So there's a pressure of trying to be funny and take that risk of making jokes, but you don't even know what might offend her. You could say a thing that could offend her and you just don't even know. And so there's a lot of simpering and capitulating that a lot of people comment on and they notice and they see of males, but they don't stop and say, oh, hold on, well, wait a minute. What are males responding to where they have to capitulate? Well, it's the fragile nature of a beginning relationship with the woman. Most women don't take this into consideration. They don't think very hard about this, right? As a female, if you notice that someone, a male, has a perfect track record of the things he's saying, that should be a red flag. You should be concerned with an individual that you don't find any disagreement or any friction on, because no normal relationship would ever exist without you being, that nigga's kind of weird a little bit, or, well, that's odd, or I've never heard of that before. There should be a confusion. A different person who was raised by different people in a different state somehow says everything right and correct to you. That's bullshit. And it should pick off as bullshit. But the reason why, as a lady, that you don't realize that that's bullshit is because a lot of you guys are hyper vigilant to males, hyper vigilant to weird shit, hyper vigilant to utilizing your ick, the gut, the ick y'all niggas have, that you don't stop to realize that you're playing yourself. Because as such as that, this is probably its own dissertation, even, my bad here for this one, but I'll finish the thought. Because as such as this, when we as males realize we're on a thin wire, we realize we're on a tightrope, we know we have to come correct consistently. That's where a lot of the dating codes and stuff comes from. But that's a curated, performative thing that is not reflective of the actual person you would have a relationship with. That's why, as a lady, again, you niggas thought I just said this randomly. That's why on the back end, remember earlier in the video where ladies say, well, he just changed. That's why he just changed. He was never that motherfucker to begin with. He was never that motherfucker to begin with. And he could have never been that motherfucker to begin with, because if he was, you would have never accepted him. And all of this is a response to this difficult thing of preconceived notions and things outside of our control as males that most people don't stop and think about. How is it as a male, how are we supposed to foster a relationship with someone that thinks antagonistically of us? The answer is very simple. You can't. And that's how lots of men can find themselves into pornography and OnlyFans. Because in this way, a direct exchange alleviates all that bullshit. It doesn't fucking matter if the woman does think that you ain't shit and you're a simp and you don't matter. You paid her for the service, she's gonna do it. Is it wrong? Absolutely. Why? Because as members of humanity, we can just give a fuck about each other. Shouldn't have to be paying money in transaction. I care about you, you care about me. Very simple. But again, we'll cover that in the future, I think, because there's more to be dissertated here. I'll sum the video up with this. There's this video I watched with this lady where, maybe I can't sum it up, but I'll end this clip here because we're here for a minute. I see it's 8 minutes. There's this lady who was talking about her marriage and how pornography was an issue in her marriage. And she talks about how her husband wouldn't have as much sex with her as she wanted. And she speaks about how she felt entitled to having sex with him because that was her husband, right? Sounds familiar? And it's interesting because as she talks about how, she would be frustrated with him. She talked about how she thought he was a weak man. She talks about all these different issues with him. And what was crazy to me was this lady here used to be an escort. Turns out while she was married, she was escorting. She frames all these different details all together. And at the end of it, I'm sitting there like, well, nigga, don't it just make sense why he didn't want to have sex with you? Right? Like, you're being mean to him. You have sex, like, as a job, you have sex with other men. You don't respect him. In some ways, you don't even like him. Why would he want to stroke you down? Nigga, like, what about that sounds like he should want to have sex with you of all people? And that's the thing. A lot of ladies don't think about the fact. Like, we get upset with pornography. And as such, there's many, many reasons we should. But when it comes to this regard where males can check out, how males, we should just go talk to women, people don't stop and actually realize that the actual act of having a relation with a woman as well is difficult. Women do make having relationships with them difficult. For trauma here, daddy issues there, just the antagonistic framework we put as males to women in the cultural zeitgeist that we just want to have sex with them, they make it hard. Like, they're defensive when sometimes, well, maybe sometimes they should be. Sometimes they shouldn't be. It's very complex, and people aren't recognizing that as men, they're whole ass human beings. It's not, we don't just want to have sex. We want to be intimate, and we want to love. And sometimes as men, we want to serve. People have such a strong disdain and hatred for simps. I find this intriguing that we dislike simps so much, but no one gives the smoke to a groupie. It's peculiar. Moving away because I can see the sun in the back. So let's wrap up with this one final thing from Brett Cooper, and then I gotta get going anyway, so.
Like, porn is allowing young men to stay in front of their computers and not strive for anything else. Like, overuse of porn, over the masturbation, it fucks with your hormones. Like, biologically, it has impacts. Mentally, men who are porn addicted, who even just are not even porn addicted but watch copious amounts of porn, are mentally very, very unhealthy. Like, it is not natural.
And as such, I must end the video with this. Even if I accept that premise is true, that is pornography, and it's not actually the lack of fulfillment, the lack of return, the lack of acceptance, and the lack of trust and actually, I guess I should just cut to it then, my bad. So listen, even if pornography went away tomorrow, even if OnlyFans went away tomorrow, that would not mean that young ladies would be nicer, kinder, easier to talk to, and just fun to have relationships with. I'm sure Chad and Tyrone have a good time getting the best version of a woman because they're attractive, they're nice looking males. I'm sure, people that have clout have this curated, just groupies willing to do whatever they want. But when you're just a normal motherfucker, you're just normal, you know what I'm saying? When you really care and you want a whole ass family, you know what I'm saying? It's tough. It's tough. And sometimes it's tough for things you didn't even do wrong. You know how many times I've had to experience this shit? I didn't even do the shit, you know what I'm saying? And I'm being punished for it. It's hard. It isn't that porn is what defeats men. Porn is the smoke. What defeats men is that having relationships with women fucking sucks. And it's not that women are bad people and they're terrible. No, we need to be with women. I want to keep society going. I'm never saying this shit as, well, that's why we should leave them alone. Fuck no, nigga. I'm saying women should be better people. That's what I'm trying to say. But it makes me look like a misogynist. It makes me look like I'm bitter, I'm lonely, and bloody hell, I'm all this, I'm all that. But I want you guys to actually kind of get beyond that first thing. And maybe I should make more videos where I just am clear about this. The point that I'm making is I don't think that should be an abandonment of relationships. That's fucking dumb. What I think is there should be an improvement. And this goes back to what I laid out before. Y'all niggas think I just say shit randomly. I don't. When you set up an insurmountable dragon to slay, of course it's easy to throw your sword down and say, well, I can't face this creature. But in reality, we're not fighting a dragon. We're fighting a vampire. A vampire that is seductive. A vampire that you must allow inside of your house. A vampire that is right in front of you. A beautiful, inviting creature that prays for your destruction. The issue is not insurmountable. The issue is not this giant pornography thing. The issue is that relationships between us on the intimate level, person-to-person thing between men and women is poisoned. And if we can begin to fix that and address that and look at that, instead of blaming the institution of marriage, instead of blaming just feminism, I spent a long time blaming feminism. Feminism is part of the problem too. Blaming divorce, blaming all of this different, blaming our nature. Men just want to smash anything, bloody hell. Women have to be super picky. No. But we actually improve and we think critically about what is the point of a relationship? How should we have relationships? Why should men be with women? Actually address and heal that instead of pointing at this giant thing of porn or this giant thing of marriage. We'll make a video about that. Or this giant thing of this, giant thing of our nature, biological determinism. What is it on the ground, the day-to-day choices that you and I can make, that any woman can make, that will make our actual relationships better? Men do not give up because porn sedates us. It's fucking stupid. Men give up because trying to love women is extremely difficult, and they make that shit very fucking hard. That is the fire that we need to put out, not the smoke of pornography. Doesn't mean porn is right, but even if we got rid of it tomorrow, that doesn't mean that being with women will be any fucking easier. So that being said, I certainly hope I gave you guys something to think about. I apologize for the sun in the back, but if I did give you something to consider, I don't know, man, go ahead and click the like button. Go ahead and click the subscribe button. Comment in the comments below, and as always, you guys have yourself a great day. I will see you cool cats soon.